tell people, do every aspect. And if there's one thing that you like more, and I don't want to discourage people, but I want to really tell you this because it's not about fame. It's not about being famous. It's a very difficult job, and very few people are famous. You really have to love it. You have to have a strong passion for it, a strong drive for it, a strong love for it, and it's a brutal, brutal business. And if you like something just this much, do that. Don't do this because it's hard. It's hard. Auditions are hard. You're laying your heart out there for exposing everything, and you may not get cast. I will tell you this because I've been on the casting side, mainly in TV, but now more in theater. I've done theater as well, but I've done a lot more of the TV and advertising and industrial films and short films. Yeah. Many times I want to take the person and go, you were the best. You were the best. We just can't use you for this role.
Right. And
just keep auditioning, and know that you might have been the best person. They just couldn't, they had to have a family look a certain way. The client also, we would have to take things to the client, and I might choose somebody and they may choose somebody else, and I have to go with that because they're the client. They're paying it, you know. And
there could be 100 different reasons why you don't get the role, and it's not your fault.
No. Keep going.
Don't internalize that. Just do the best at the audition, leave it on the table or leave it on the floor, and go to the next audition.
I also say this too, and this helps me, treat every audition like a mini performance. So just go in and don't even think about getting it. Think that panel of judges, or even if it's just one person, that you're just doing a little show for them. And don't even think about the role. Don't even think about that. Just say, I'm just going to do a little fun show today. I'm just going to have fun. And when you get nervous and you're shaking, I've worked with kiddos and they're like, I'm just so nervous. Just keep saying to yourself in your head, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm just really excited.
Use the nervous energy toward your performance.
Yeah. And, you'll leave some auditions knowing that you didn't do that great. You'll leave some that you're like, I nailed it. But don't get down on yourself. And don't talk to other actors in the auditions if you're a cattle call. Because I've been in so many that they're talking about their resumes and all these things. And I just kind of let it go in one ear and out the other. And I listen. And the second you come into an audition, you're auditioning. Not when you just hit the stage. There's people watching you. And if you're kind of a pain, or they go, gosh, this person, I can see them over there, and they're like, no, and like just so.
You're rude to the receptionist.
Yes.
The receptionist may also be part of the casting.
Well, and I found in many of my auditions, the person like up front ends up like you find out they're the stage manager later. But you just the second you hit that door, and you should just be a good person. Just in general, you should be a good person, and you should be happy for people. Like I don't like it when people are not happy for other people being successful. I think that is a really sad thing in our industry, like the jealousies and things. I'm like, if my friend or someone gets something, I'm like, good, that's awesome. Like, so great. A door will open when it's supposed to. It will close when it's supposed to. And just settle yourself in that. And don't get down on yourself because we as actors, we're exposing. It's almost like you're naked when you do an audition because you're just, like I said, laying it out there. If you're doing like a dramatic monologue where you have tears or you just do that. You feel like it's been stomped on when you don't get something, but don't do that to yourself. You will just be sick inside. That's why I say do something else if you can't. Because as actors, we're very sensitive people. Very sensitive. We have to be very sensitive and expose that. But then you have to protect yourself and realize, hey, it's not me. It wasn't the time for me. Also, one of my dreams was to be a voiceover person. I love voiceovers. I love that.
Speaking of which, your most recent voiceover,
Tryla K.
Voice for Tryla K, the talking dog in the
cars and trucks, pretty little cars and trucks. I do all my barking. It is my voice. So that's fun. I always wanted to do that because I thought, you can have a normal life. no one really knows who you are if you're a cartoon voice or something like that. And you can have a normal life. And you can go in your sweatpants, no makeup on, your hair all a mess, and be this fun character that kids like. And I started it many years ago, and then they went without a voice for a while, and now they're going back to the voice. But now some of the kids that started out with Triley K way back, they're adults now. My husband was at this thing one night. It was like an after-hours business thing, and this girl was talking to him, and I don't know how they got on the subject. She knew somebody that, I don't know how they got on it. Maybe I can't remember. Yeah. But he said I wasn't there because I can't go to him really much anything because we're at work doing the show. She said something and he said something and he goes, yeah, my wife's Triley K. And she goes, what? Like she was real professional, and all of a sudden she turned into like a child. She was like, oh my gosh, I love her. I love her. I love Triley K. When I was little, I had this stuffed animal. I had it on my bed because they gave away little stuffed animal Triley Ks when they bought cars and trucks. Cars and trucks. No, but she grew up seeing me as this cartoon. Yeah. And it was funny. The animator people were like, did the animator know you had green eyes? And I said, no, but she had green eyes. Now it's a different animation. It's the same. It's still 3D, but it's different animators. Triley looks pretty much the same, but Roger looks different. And he does a great job. I love his, and we've never met each other. That's the thing with voiceovers.
Separately.
Yeah, when you see those movies they may have never been in the same room with each other.
Well, nowadays, and if you have the right equipment, I have a little mic and an isolation box and audio software that I can do voiceovers in my office here. I've done a few of them.
That's good.
For narrators and things like that. I just auditioned for a couple of audio books.
Awesome.
Which would be fun.
That would be awesome, yeah.
That's a long
process, but yeah.
For those that are interested in voiceovers, though, the voiceovers are harder than you think they are. You don't just read; you have to read with emotion and not sound like you're reading.
Right, yeah. It's very heightened. Like you think you really have to smile. You really have to because they have to hear that emotion.
Right. It sounds differently when you're smiling.
Right, and so. I love, but I really enjoy voiceovers. When I worked for my dad, it was kind of just starting. I mean, usually we used local voiceover talent, but there was this site, and there's multiple now, called speedyspots.com. It's still out there if you ever want to look it up. And they had all these different voiceovers, and these people were just like you, having a studio at home.
Yeah.
And they got so much money per spot. They had samples. They had like their cars, or whatever, they had their big voice, and they had their hard sell, they had the soft sell, they had, character, and then they had, just a very nice warm, and then they had like if they did accents. And so you'd listen through, and then you'd email them and say, hey, we want your hard sell, but do it a little less than that. And you just kind of direct them. And usually they'd only do it, they'd get it in usually 3 takes. Yeah. And at that point, I think they got, I'm not 100% sure, but I think they got $50, I think, per 30 second. Yeah. But they only usually read it 3 times and they got it down. So think about doing that. Not having a script probably takes you maybe 15 minutes. And you make $50, and you're doing that all day long. Yeah. And they had real good studios. And now I went on the site not too long ago. They've got so many people. When I first started with them, they didn't have that many people. And I actually asked them, I was interested myself, but I didn't have my own studio. We didn't have studio there. I'd have to go to a radio station. Yeah. It was one of those things you really had to have your own studio. So that's really great that you have that. Yeah. But it's a very,
lot more people do now.
Yeah, it's a very hard business right now though, because so many people, it's very saturated now, but you never know. And also if you have a different rate, like maybe a different rate, and they're like, we want to pay a little like some voiceover talents, some of them on there wanted, there were some that did want more. But you don't want to underestimate yourself. You don't want to. I think as actors, that's why it's good for them to have agents and managers, because I think, they say starving artist, because we love to do it, and people will sometimes take less than they're worth a lot more. I'm really good at casting because I will get the person more money than I would ever do for myself. Isn't that crazy? I couldn't do it for myself, but I'm like, they need $500. Yeah. They'll do it for $500.
It means more coming from someone else saying, you need to listen to this guy, or you need to see this guy, rather than me saying, you need to hire me.
You need to see me.
Yeah, look at me. Look at me. Shameless self-promotion type thing. But I do have one agent right now, but they are predominantly just in the St. Louis area, so they only cast in that area. So everything else, I do self-submissions. Do a lot of video auditions.
That's true. Now there's so many. That's the way it's going. And
online.
Yeah, we had this year with Smoke on the Mountain. We did that because
COVID.
Yeah, COVID, but not really COVID. It wasn't COVID related. It was more that we had a 2-day audition period and people couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a COVID thing really.
Time economy.
It just was also we wanted to reach out and see what else is out there. Plus, I can keep those, or we can keep those. So for future, if we do lose somebody, it's nice to have. And okay, I have this, it's there. I can always go back and review it again.
Yeah.
So I even tell people that even audition in person, do another one. Then you see on that site that they're doing virtual ones, do a different piece. You did your song, you did a monologue when you came in. Now send in a virtual submission, showing us another side, or maybe doing the same thing you did, but that way we have it on file. I'm not tech savvy. I'm gonna need to come over here for you if I ever do that. I mean, I know I am technical in some ways, but that's not my forte. Like I said, when I had my show, when I had Fox, I directed my editor and my camera, what I wanted, the vision. And that's when we did storyboards. I cartooned it out. I had it. And also I had to go through all the footage, all the B-roll, and get all the time codes that I wanted. And it would take sometimes hours, because we'd shoot maybe a whole day, doing different things. So you'd have to go through all that. Now it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
Digital is easier, and some of the software makes it easier. Okay, we talked about some of your prior stuff, present, the show that we're both in, shows. And you mentioned Silver Dollar City. You didn't go into that much, but you were Miss Tilly.
Miss Tilly.
At the
Hi,
show. So
Charlie.
how many years did you do that?
3.
3 years?
3, and then I was it was so much fun. Oh my gosh. I could be in the worst mood or have the saddest day, and then you come in there and it was just like happy land. And also, you're getting a free workout, so or not a free work, you're going to pay to work out. So it was nice because I would dance around all day, and then I'd be exhausted afterwards, and I would sleep so well. It's I love being an active, doing that, because now it's as Vera, I can just, it's if you're not working out, with
it's a small stage.
I mean, it's an active, but we don't dance. Right. We don't dance here. That's what the pastor says.
Yeah.
We don't dance here. Sorry, I'm stealing your line, Chris.
Let's talk about your art.
So this one, I called Rebirth. I don't know why I called it Rebirth, but that's I do conceptual art, and I do things that are very where you could touch and feel it. It's almost like Braille. So, and I use a lot of mixed media, or mixed mediums. I don't know how to say. I don't know. I'm not an artist. I mean, I'm an artist. How this transpired is my late brother, just passed away last year, is a published artist. He will go down in history. He is an amazing, brilliant artist. And I was going kind of through a rough time in my life, a rough patch. And I said, I can't, and you'll be shocked. I can't even verbalize it. I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk. It's nothing that I can even express verbally. And he said, start painting.
Yeah.
Why don't you paint? I go, Mom's an artist, Dad's an artist. Went to Mom in like 3rd grade when we were doing more math problems. I go, can you help me with this? We don't do math in our house. We're artists. We do not do math in our house. Only art. Okay. So my family, like whereas most families discourage people from being in theater, my family was very encouraging of that. Yeah. We'd be dancing and singing and acting and play acting and just being goofy.
But what your mother didn't know is music is math.
Very mathematical. And also I'm very, I'm very structured. I think I'm good accounting wise, but don't give me algebra, don't give me calculus, geometry, and that's more creative math. So it made sense to me.
That's the kind of math that tall plants learn. Geometry.
Oh no. You have a lot of good jokes.
Oh, that's
yeah.
I stored them up. I'm a dad and grandpa.
Yeah. So this is that, and when
it's got a very southwestern look to it. I like that.
Funny thing, my brother said, and I hadn't even researched this art. I had art history in college, which I loved. Oh my gosh, I loved it. My dad couldn't believe it. He didn't like that because he went to school. He got a scholarship for football. And then he was in the art department, but they had to do art history, and all of his friends on the football team would tease him because he was in art, because it didn't seem like it went together. So he had both, and then he went right into the Vietnam. We went to Vietnam after that, but and then came back and started his advertising business. And it was just him, and my grandmother was his accountant, And so, but he's an artist, He wasn't really. He had some business classes, and but he became, but he was structured, and I think I got a lot of the side of him as far as like how to run a business, because also in our business it's show business. It's not just a show, it's show business.
Two sides.
And a lot of people as artists don't have a business side to them, but I'd say if you're an artist, maybe take some class or maybe start to learn, because you need to have a little bit of that side to you. It's helpful. But yes, my brother said to me, have you ever seen Aboriginal art? And I said, no. He goes, well, look it up online.
I can see that too.
And he goes, and I looked at it. In art history, we didn't research Aboriginal art in that class. Yeah. Because I only took one class of it. I'm sure I would have if I would have had that as a degree. But he said, look it up, because he took more of those classes, obviously being in art school. He said, yeah, it is. And it was. I was like, I don't know an Aboriginal person. I don't know if that's the Aborigine, but it's like it's very primitive. It was very interesting to me that I was like, maybe like what, it's just, and so I started doing more and more. So this is one, and then I've got
a little brighter.
Yeah.
What's this called?
This one is called Intangible Vision.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's a little larger, obviously, you can't see me. So, hi. Hello. So, yes, so after...
Down on the bottom, I can see, in my concept, a bowl, a drum, a stool. That's just what I see. It's kind of like the ink blots, you can see different things. But, and then you have waves. And one thing looks like a snake over there. Cactus, lizard. I don't know.
Yeah, and I tell people with conceptual art, when it came here today, it doesn't have to hang. If it's conceptual, you can hang it however you want. I have it this way, but you can, if you like it that way. And depending on like your wall space, like you might need a painting this way instead of, and I say turn it however you want. I have it written on there the way. And another thing,
you painted it that way.
Right. My brother never signed any of his paintings.
Oh, really?
None of them are signed. Really? None of them.
Where can you?
He's Linus Young. Linus. And yes, if you look up Linus Young, he's published, but he went everywhere. The thing about, he was also very interested in theater as well. He also ran track in high school and stuff, but he went into art because he did want to do the same thing I was doing, but he had a lot more guts than me. In high school, he wanted to audition for a musical. Well, he'd never taken any vocal classes or anything like that, but he had a good voice. Singing, he has a very strong voice. And he said, he told my mom, and my mom's like, well, just go over there and watch. Because he said, I don't know if I'll audition or not, maybe. And she's like, well, go watch, just go watch. And he auditioned, but he didn't have any sheet music. But he'd heard me sing the Little Mermaid song. Yeah. And he's like, look at this stuff, isn't it neat? I mean, he did it. He said he mimicked the voice that he'd hear me, and he said he didn't change it. When you think I'm a boy, he said, when you think I'm a girl who has everything. And then he didn't know much about the show. When I audition for a show, if I know that there's a book out there or a script, meaning the book of that script, I will go find it and read it, at least read part of it. I will listen to the music or try to find something. And I won't go like he did. Like, no way. No way. I mean, he just did it. And the next day, he goes to look at the cast sheet. Now they're online, but it used to be just on a piece of paper. You look at, even in college, you look at the paper. Everybody comes at the same time. This is another thing. If you are in a setting where you do see it at the same time, don't be a poor sport. Like, don't be, like, if you don't get something, just walk away. And don't be a bragger. Oh, I got it. Go outside somewhere and do your happy dance. Because somebody else is not very happy at this moment, and that's not cool. But his eyes got big. He looked down at once upon a mattress. He got the lead. Oh. He was dauntless.
Wow.
And so he kind of freaked after that because he was like, Tara, what do I do? What do I do? I go, get the soundtrack, listen to it, just keep listening to it. And he did. And I said, mimic that because you're going to be singing that same vocal part. It was perfect for him because he was the mama's boy and he was not that confident in his ability. I mean, she was the queen and she was telling him, and my mom is a very stage mom type person, very good, but also she's very critical. Like, whenever I started singing solos, I didn't want her to watch because she is a vocalist. She would tell me, she was not one of those people like, oh, you're amazing, you're the most wonderful thing. She'd tell me what things I needed to work on, things that I didn't do. And actually, I think you need to have a balance. As a parent, you can't tell your kid they're great at everything. I mean, you need to not pick on them too much, but coach them if you have a knowledge base,
and even if you truth and how they can improve.
And also, if you don't have a knowledge base in it, that's fine, but don't tell them they're amazing all the time, because then if they go and they don't get, I think that it has to be a balance with I mean, of course you love your child, and that's why my mom was critical, because she wanted us to grow. She wanted us to be the best we could be, and it was, I think, it was harder when I was younger, and now I'm like, I'll ask her and it's fine. And then she'll say the amazing, like the things she just absolutely loves. But I respect her opinion because she is a wonderful vocalist. And my dad's really great, not vocally. He's not a good singer. Sorry, Dad. But he's so good in the business sense and like the marketing. Like, I have worked in marketing and PR off and on, and getting to do that. I think I have a balance of a lot of different things, and I really appreciate my family because they really did help me in this show that I'm in now, Smoke on the Mountain, Sanders Family Christmas. My grandmother was almost as much a mother to me as my mother. We would spend every weekend with them, my grandparents, and she was my tutor. She was a teacher, so she'd come after school and we'd work on school. But she always ran lines with me. Oh. And these are the two last shows she ever ran lines with me before she passed away. She didn't get to see it. I think she didn't want us to see she wasn't feeling really great. But the last show she ran lines with me was Sanders Family Christmas. And she was really good at, she was like a tutor, and she'd and I get hard on myself. I'm like, I'm not getting it. She's like, now you need to take a 10-minute break, You kind of have to get away from it a little bit, It's like, but I'm running lines and in school I didn't have anybody to run lines with me, so I do index cards. My a couple maybe 5 cue lines on the front, and then it's a flashcard because you're not cheating that way. Everybody has their own process. That was just helpful.
Lines are the lines that people say before your lines, so you get an idea of when you're supposed to talk.
And you should have your cues memorized just as much as your own line.
Oh, yeah.
And I say several lines because if somebody does skip one of their lines, you need to have multiple lines on the cue card because, somebody might drop a line. And if you know the cue lines as well as yours, you might be able to pick up their cue line if it makes sense for you to do so. Like in our show, there's been times where we've had to pick up a cue line if there's an understudy in or somebody forgets. Yeah.
If it's imperative that be said, if it's a throwaway line, it's not a big deal. But
and what is a throwaway line, Stephen?
One that's not really integral to the story.
Yeah, just throw that away.
Yeah. But some of them are kind of fun.
Yeah. With our show, I don't know. I don't know of any other show off the top of my head, and I'm sure there are some out there. Every single person in Smoke on the Mountain and Sanders Family Christmas are leads.
Yeah, it's an ensemble cast.
But basically, everybody's a lead. There's no small parts. Like I said, there's really no small parts in the chorus. But everyone has a monologue. Everyone has solos. Everyone has standout spots. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure, like unusual. I said, very unusual because every single person, I'm saying, is a leading role, which is amazing. And the monologues, it's always good to have some good monologues. I'd say go out and buy the Smoke on the Mountain script because if you ever have to audition with a monologue, there's several really good standout male monologues and female monologues. It wasn't my first year. It was after I had done it a long time. It was like my second year.
Yeah, that's when you
get into a groove.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always say stay
it's like
present.
Muscle memory on the guitar, and sometimes in songs I'll do that. Did we do that verse?
Right. But that's why I always say it's so important to always stay present.
Yeah.
But we're human. You're going to zone out occasionally. And what happened in this monologue, all of a sudden, it's like I didn't know. I blanked. And an actor, all they said was Junebug. Like just one word. And I was like, oh, that's where I am. Yeah. And they just said it like kind of quiet. But I looked at the actor, and my eyes were a little bit deer in the headlights. They knew it wasn't. They knew it wasn't Vera. They knew it was Tara going. I don't. There's something, and I always say, to everybody, if you get lost, just say, okay, we're gonna sing a song. But I was up there, and I didn't do that. Like I could have just said, hey, but it was just and you feel this warmth go over your body, like this heat. Yeah. All over, and you just go, oh. Yeah. But when you're working with really professional cast members, which we have a very professional cast, you feel secure. If you're working with novice, it's a little bit more nerve-wracking because you're like, they're not going to save me. And our cast is very, very professional, so I think with who we have, we kind of have a little comfort.
This is your 6th season with Smoke on the Mountain. This is my 4th.
Is it 6th?
Yeah,
I keep thinking it's 5th. It's
now,
6th.
You've gone through 5 seasons. This is starting.
I think because COVID was such a shortened.
That kind of
seems like
threw everything off. But one year we had 4 new cast members come in at the same time as principals. That was hard.
It's harder, it is harder, but and then you get used to your groove. Then you have your understudies rotate in, which they have a little bit different take on the role, and so I like it because it helps me with my character. I have to react differently. Yeah. I also sometimes find a new freshness to Vera. I'm like, kind of liked how that felt, and it's not based on the understudy doing better than the principal. It's just based on me kind of finding something new in my character.